मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. Offering my most reverential and loving pranams to our beloved Swami, who is always present where his children are, and saying Sai Ram to all of the elders, brothers and sisters here, to all of the office bearers who have taken the trouble. I know they've had a very busy day today, organizing various other activities for Swami's 98th birthday and the Bhajan Mala, as they were telling me, offering my Sairams to all of you. And thank you for inviting me here. This was a very unexpected treat for me because I had just called Sister Srilata here to ask what the bhajan timings were, because we were in Delhi, my husband and I, for his 50th IIT reunion, a golden jubilee of meeting his friends in IIT after 50 years, after having lived in the US for many years. It was a wonderful thing. So I had just wanted to come and attend the bhajan here, but Swami had his own plans, I think. And as I walk in here and get introduced to your office bearers, he had another very loving surprise for me. My very own sister all the way from USA, Alka Satija, and brother Satija, Surendra Satija here, who were a part of our center for a long, long time in South Bethesda in Maryland. They happen to be walking in too. So it's just wonderful to see family and friends here. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's indeed an honor, because I know, was it in 1995 or so that this hall was inaugurated. I was in Parthi after the inauguration was over. My husband and I were there in Puttaparthi, and Swami happened to call us in for an interview, and he had just returned from Delhi, and he was explaining this beautiful building to us, the love with which it was built, the devotion and the dedication of the devotees who were participating here, their love for Swami and their dedicated service that would continue on in this building for many, many years to come. He was explaining to my husband and I, which was the reason why I thought I'm in Delhi, I must go and see the place which Swami so proudly explained to me so many years ago. So here I am today, in a place where he has walked and talked to all of you, or many of you who were present at that time. So I'm indeed honored. You know, Delhi is actually my in-laws' home, so to speak. When I got married, my in-laws lived here in Delhi, and I used to visit regularly from Bangalore. My husband was working in Bangalore at that time, and we used to come every year to Delhi. And the Sai Center was in my mother-in-law's house in Safdarjung Enclave for a long time, and we used to also visit Dr. Safaya's house for bhajans in those days. So I had some connection to Delhi. So it's really a wonderful opportunity for me to come here today. You know, speaking about Swami, thank you for that very kind and long introduction. But the only reason I'm standing here, obviously, and you all know that, is only because I carry his name. Not really because I'm Geeta, Mohan, Ram, or anybody else. Because why would somebody spend a whole Sunday evening listening to some lady? Only because, for some wonderful good fortune of my ancestors and my own good fortunes of past lives, I came into his fold at my birth, and was able, because I'm so much older than all of you, was able to see Swami in the days when there were not this many devotees, and was able to spend a lot of my childhood in his presence. And he spent, in fact, his youth, I must say, if one can say that about Swami. He was ever youthful and always present and always young. In our home, he used to come from Puttaparthi and stay in our home in my father's house during Akhanda Bhajan. My grand-uncle, who was the first priest of Prashanti Nilayam when Swami built and opened Prashanti Nilayam in 1950, My grandfather, who was not a priest by profession, was made into a priest by Swami. And he lived in Puttaparthi till he passed away. And it was his idea in 1945 which started the Akhanda Bhajan. You know, they had all become devotees in 1943. And in 44, the 8 or 9 families in Bangalore said, you know, we have such a nice time when we go and see Swami in Parthi. Let us all do Thursday bhajans. In those days, of course, the bhajans in the format that we have now of 4 lines and repeating were not there. They all used to sing Meera bhajans and Tyagaraja Kritis and so on. They were all good singers, my family members. A gene that didn't get passed on to me, unfortunately, but they were good singers. And they started to do Thursday bhajans. And every Thursday, and you remember that India was not yet independent at that time. So under a lot of curfew, these women and men would go, by rotation to the 9 families, or it started with 5 and went on to be 9 families. They would do Thursday bhajans for a year. They did it. And then in 1945, around that time, one of my aunts said, you know, we have completed 1 year without a break. The reason I think the Akhanda Bhajan is coming up today is because Brother Kishore said that you had all been to a Bhajan Mala today. So the whole Bhajan idea, which started with this avatar with Manasa Bhajare, you know, it still continues. So they all did this for a year. And then one of the aunts said, you know, we've completed without a break every Thursday for 1 whole year. Why don't we celebrate a bhajan for 24 hours, you know? And just sort of really offer our gratitude to Swami for having allowed us to do this for 52 weeks without a break. So they wrote a letter to my granduncle, that is my grandfather's elder brother. You would have read about him in Satyam Shivam Sundaram. His name was Sheshagiri Rao. He lived in Puttaparthi. So they wrote to him saying, please inform Swami that we are all thinking of doing a 1 day, 24-hour bhajan. And we would like to have his blessings for that. They were all middle class people, middle class and lower middle class people, didn't have much money. So they were not thinking of a big function. They just thought in a small house in one of the uncle's homes, we will just do a 24-hour bhajan with family members. So they wrote this letter to my uncle, grand uncle, and he informed Swami that Swami, all the youngsters in Bangalore are thinking of doing this. And Swami said, oh, that's a wonderful idea, let's go, you and I. You know. So my grand uncle wrote a letter to my aunt, his daughter, and said that Swami is saying he wants to come. So now there was a big dilemma. No, we really don't want Swami to come, because where are we going to have him stay? Swami didn't have the Vrindavan building in those days. There was nothing. When he came to Bangalore, he used to stay in either my grand uncle's house or his daughter's house, or in a couple of other homes that you would have read about. So they said, no, this is a small house, we cannot really entertain Swami in the house. If he just sends his blessings, that's good enough, you know. Because we cannot keep him, we are very ordinary folks. How can we look after the Lord of the universe in our home? It's a small little house. The bathrooms are small, old traditional Indian homes. And so they wrote this letter, by which time they received a telegram from my grand uncle saying, Bailder now, we already left. We left Puttaparthi. So they arrived, and I was not born then, unfortunately. This is the only time I think I really feel that I'm not old enough. You know? So I was not born then, but I grew up with these stories about how Swami arrived in the Bangalore railway station from Pranakonda. And these people received him in the station and brought him home. And they all kept saying, Swami, why did you come? We cannot look after you. And he said, what do you mean? I am in all your hearts. Your house doesn't matter. I'll sleep wherever everybody sleeps. So they moved all the children out into the hall, gave Swami the room. It was a little house. And Swami stayed. And in those days, they started the Akhanda Bhajan on the Thursday morning after Rahu Kalam, ending on Friday morning after Abhishekam and Arati. So that's how it started. And it went on for 25 years as our family function. We did it for 25 years till 1974. when Swami attended every single Akhanda Bhajan, and in later years after my father had built his house, stayed in our home for the 3 days that he would stay. And for 25 years it went on. And then in 1974, Swami made an announcement and said, from now on, it will become a global event. One lamp that was lit by this family will be lit all over the world. And so, the Akhanda Bhajan which started then now continues in so many different forms. We have the Shivaratri Bhajans and we have so many different forms. So that is how Swami's first message started out with bhajans. He drew people with bhajans and of course with all the miraculous things that happened. For me, my childhood was filled with Swami's miraculous events because those were the first Mahima years of Swami. So I grew up seeing amazing sights. I tell my children in the US that don't use the word amazing and awesome for everything. If the pizza is good, they'll say it was an amazing pizza. So that's not an amazing pizza, it was a good pizza. But Swami's work, which started out with Namasmarana, and as I was growing up, it started as Narayana Seva, as helping the poor people in and around Puttaparthi, is now unbelievably spread, throughout the world. And that is the biggest miracle that we can all see. We can see the biggest miracle because wherever you go or wherever you meet a Sai devotee, they'll say, all of the seva activities that they are doing. But for me, I grew up with seeing a lot of wonderful events that happen. I'm sure, many of you have already who met me there said, we have heard you on YouTube. I'm sure you've heard some of the incidents which because of the technology now is available so easily all over the world wherever anybody speaks. But my very first memory of Swami actually was when I was maybe 3 years old. The reason I'm talking about Namasmarana, this is the memory that comes. My father had a little car. I even remember the number NYB 9897. It was a small standard Super 10 car. And we used to bring Swami from Puttaparthi to Bangalore in this car. It was a small car. Actually only 4 people could sit. So Swami at that time had one small Morris Minor car which wasn't used much because sometimes getting petrol in Puttaparthi was difficult. There was nothing there in Puttaparthi. You had to go all the way to Penakonda and bring the petrol and pour it into the car and then Swami was able to use it. In fact, you would have read in Satyakshiram Sundaram how once Swami, the petrol got over and they poured water, Swami stirred the... My brother was the kid who brought that petrol actually. My brother was in Swami's car at that time when that water was turned into petrol. But anyway, so when my father bought his car, he used to bring Swami from Puttaparthi to Bangalore. One particular time, we left Puttaparthi. Swami usually used to leave in the morning after morning bhajan. And in those days, the morning bhajans would get over around 10:30. And if he was to come to Bangalore, we used to leave around 11 o'clock after the bhajan. And we would carry lunch with us, in these big carriers, all the food would be carried. And we would stop somewhere, between Penakonda and Chikbalapur. You're all familiar with the routes now. And then one of the banyan trees, and my mother and aunt, whoever was there, would spread out the dhari, under a banyan tree. And Swami would sit there and they would serve Swami and then the ladies would eat after. And Swami would say, I will go and take a walk, you ladies eat, because they didn't feel comfortable to sit there and eat in front of Swami. So I remember as a child, but this car was small. So whenever Swami came to our house, my father would request Swami to sit in the front seat, but he would always have my mother sit in the front seat and Swami would sit in the back with my brother who was 7 years older, and then my mother and I would sit in the front seat. So that was all that you could fit into that car. One particular time we left and my mother would have me sitting on her lap. I was about 3 years old. And Swami for some reason said, Kamalama, it is too long. It used to take about 6 to 7 hours to reach from Parthi to Bangalore because the roads were so bad. It's too long for you to make Geeta sit on your lap. You send her to me in the back and we will sit, Jagdish, that was my brother Jagdish and I, and Geeta will sit in the
the back. But there was really no room, it was. So he made me sit on his lap. So it had happened a couple of times before, and my mother was not very happy. I had short hair even then. And every time I moved as a child, my hair would hit his face, because I'm sitting on his lap. And coming from very traditional and orthodox family, this is Bhagwan. You're sitting on his lap and my hair is touching his face and his lips. It was a complete no-no, it was not something that one would think of doing. So my mother requested Swami and said, no Swami, she's very small, she won't sit quietly, she will keep moving. And he said, no, you keep quiet, she will sit with me, you sit comfortably, it's too long. If I get tired, I will send her back to you, Swami. So I sat down and I remembered my father's eyes in the windshield mirror, continuously looking at me and glaring at me every time I moved. So that I wouldn't move, he just kept staring. I think many of my generation will understand that the parents just had to look at us and that was enough. They didn't have to tell us anything. Don't move, don't talk, don't mind. They just looked at us and I think that was enough. That's how we were all brought up as young children. Very different from the children now. So my father kept looking through the mirror every time I moved, And every time Swami would say, Padna, look in front and drive. Stop looking in the mirror and worry about it. And I would sit and Swami would say, you sit comfortably. So anyway, this went on, we drive a long drive. We were sitting there and lunch was over and then we were on our way to Bangalore. And it was almost 5 o'clock, Akhanda Bhajan time, And I'm sitting. And somewhere I think as a kid, I must have just leaned back against his chest and was almost falling asleep, sitting there in the car. And suddenly, my parents were not singers. They were not good singers or anything like that. And suddenly, I heard Om, I was like, who's singing in the car? My brother, who was 8 years old or 10 years old, was not a singer. My parents didn't. I kind of startled and looked around and looked at Swami, and Swami put his finger on his mouth and said, shh, be quiet. And he just said, you sit comfortably. And I'm sitting leaning against Swami, and I suddenly realized that from his chest, I could hear the Omkaram, Om coming 3 times. And then, in those days, they used to sing not only Ganesha Namavali, like we sing now 4 sentences, but they used to start with a Ganesha song. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Telugu song, Shri Ganesha Shivuni Kumara, Shrita Jana Vinuta Prabhu. Some of the college students here may be aware. So suddenly the song started and I realized that it is coming somewhere from Puttaparthi because even as a kid I had listened to this so many times, and after that I hear loudly Mahanasa Bhajare in Raja Reddy's voice, brother Raja Reddy of those days who used to be with Swami. In his voice I could recognize the voice and I looked at Swami really surprised, what am I hearing? And Swami said, Bhajan is going on. And in Swami's chest, I could hear all the bhajans that those devotees in Puttaparthi were singing. In those days, it was about half an hour or so. And then I ended with Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. And then I heard my grandfather's voice saying, Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Varu, And it ended. 35 minutes or so. And in the meantime, my poor mother thought this was some unusual quiet in the back. The Swami used to usually chat in the car, turned around and Swami said quiet. And then my mother turned around again and said, Swami, is she giving trouble? She's so quiet, she must be doing something naughty. And Swami said, Let bhajan me to delay. He said, she's listening to the bhajans. So that is the power of Namasmarana. Power of Namasmarana. If we can connect with him, you all did Bhajanamala today, and I'm sure you do this week after week over here. You can connect to him through that Namasmarana, however you do it. You may not be a singer, but you can do it in your own way. You may be just saying Sai Ram. You may just be saying even Om. Whatever works for you. But the devotion connects you to him. And throughout my childhood, that has been the thread. That when we have love and devotion for him, then he will connect to us in some way. In some way, he shows that he is there with you. I'm sure if I ask each one of you, you will all think of a moment
when you have felt his presence in some way, when you have thought of him without any distraction. So that was my Swami. Wherever I was, once I was very upset about something in the US, and I told my husband, I don't know about this Swami, he's not listening to anything we are praying to. He's too busy with the organization and these college students and all these people. When I went to Puttaparthi, he said, Appapa, enta tirtavunalli. He said, how much are you going to scold me? I was listening to you. You did not realize what my answer was. See, there again, he says, it is not the fault of the magnet, but it is the rust on the iron filing. I was connecting to him in my anger, but I was not listening to any of the answers that he was giving. Because I was covered with my own anger and my own feelings and my own emotions. So that is the Swami again that I have connected with. Coming back to the SSC program or Bal Vikas, in the United States it's called Sri Satya Sai Educare. Here of course Bal Vikas. I have a lot of love for the Bal Vikas, of course, because Swami suddenly out of the blue turned me into a guru, which was not a very deserving position at all. But when the organization was still very new, there were no Bal Vikas gurus at all. My mother had just started the Bal Vikas class at home with few of the neighboring children. In fact, there were not that many devotees also in 72, 73, 70s, early 70s of Bangalore. And when they first started the organization and the first World Conference happened in 68, 67, 68, and the curriculum was being made. So, in about 72 or 73, Swami asked my mother to become the state coordinator for Bal Vikas. And he said, you go all over the state of Karnataka and encourage the ladies to become gurus. Give them some training. Tell them that all you need to do is tell them some good value-based stories. Teach them good things. And start from there. And in the 70s, especially in the rural areas of Karnataka, the women were not coming forward to do these things. The men, they were more at home-based. And so my mother had to travel to different parts of Karnataka and actually speak to the men to encourage their wives to come forward or their daughters to come forward and become gurus. So she traveled all over Karnataka. I think she was one of the very, very first Bal Vikas coordinators who served Swami for 25 years in that position. Swami did not change her position, though other positions in the state changed. The president changed and the Seva coordinators changed. So she became. So while she was doing Swami's work, and the reason I'm saying this is all of you, I'm sure, are very actively involved in the Sai organizational work, you may be serving as bhajan singers, you may be doing Bal Vikas, you may be gurus, you may be doing Seva. Swami is always with us when we are doing any one of these things. And that is his promise. You do my work and I will do your work for you. Who better to do our work, right? So that is how my mother, who was a housewife, she was not an extremely highly educated woman of those days. She got married at the age of 16. Swami got her married too. It is not only me that Swami got. My parents' marriage was also by Swami. So he said, you do the work and I will take care of Padmanabh and all the children, whatever you do. So she started to do the Bal Vikas work and go into the rural areas. And I want to share this incident because when we do his work, he really protects and takes care of us. So she was supposed to go to a place called Bidar in Karnataka. It is a small town. Now it is a big district headquarters and all that. But in those days it was a small town. And away from there was another small village where she was supposed to go, along with 3 other Bal Vikas gurus from Bangalore, to encourage the ladies to come out and become gurus, and also to train them a little bit while they were there. So a lot of letter exchange, not the current day, you can imagine in the early 70s, everything had to be done through letters. She wrote letters to the district president then, and he said, you please come, you get down in the bus in Bidar, and we will meet you and we will take you to that small town which is about 15 or 20 kilometers away from Bidar to do the training program. So my mother took a couple of ladies, an older lady, Mrs. Madiman and Mrs. Sunangama and others, And about 4 of these ladies, my mother being the younger person and the others being a little bit older, all travelled to be there. Before going for any training program, Swami used to be in Vrindavan a lot at that time. You both will remember that it was when the college started in the university. Swami used to spend a lot of time in Bangalore because it was a deemed university with Bangalore University. It was connected with the Bangalore University. So Swami used to spend a majority of time, except for the festival times, he used to spend a lot of time in Bangalore. So she used to go and take his permission and showed him all the program. He was very happy. He said, "You go." And it was around that time that when my mother started to travel and he had come to our house, we were all sitting there in front of Swami's chair, and he told my mother, "You start traveling." And she said, "Swami, I have about 35 students in Balavikas. There is nobody to do my class if I go away in the weekends to do the training." And Swami pointed to me and said, "She's here, she will do it." And I looked at all my cousins sitting in the back, thinking that he was pointing to them. And he said, "Why are you looking at everybody when I am pointing to you?" I was just in 9th grade at that time. And I said, "Swami, I cannot do Balavikas. They are all my friends who are coming to Balavikas. Who will listen to me?" But Swami said, when you are given a job, you have to play that role. If you are made a guru, play the role of a guru. Wear the proper clothing, be on time, get prepared, and go to class. That is the job given to you. So that's how I became. Anyway, my mother was going to be there. And they arrived in this small town in Bidar. It was just a bus stand. They came in the bus, long journey of about 10 or 11 hours. They got down and the bus stand was under a banyan tree, basically, in these small towns. So all these ladies got down with their baggage and everything, looked around, and the gentleman who was supposed to meet them, the president of the district, was not there. So they thought he must be delayed, let us wait and see. So they waited for 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, nobody showed up. Now this is a small rural town. So, everybody in the village started to see these 4 women who have come without any male member in the family, just standing there under the tree. Not something that was a common sight in those days. So they all started to come and say, "Why are you ladies standing here like this in our town? What is your work?" They said, no, we are waiting for such and such a person." They said, "Nobody has come. What is this standing now? It is becoming late, 6 o'clock in the evening. You people are just standing. Where are you going to stay?" Now these ladies started to get nervous because there is no hotel or anything there. It's a very small town. Where are we going to stay? And in the meantime, one of the ladies, Mrs. Madiman, was a severe diabetic lady. They had eaten their lunch in the bus. There was no hotel or anything to go and eat or anything. They went around and they found one shop with some bananas or something they had done. Says, "What shall we do? When is the next bus to go back?" Because obviously the person who has come to take us has not come. So they said, "What bus? Till tomorrow afternoon 11:30 there is no bus." So they have to basically sit under the tree. So these ladies, they started to tell my mother, "What is this, Kamala? Did you write letters properly? Did that man receive it? Did he tell you he was going to come? Did you organize this properly?" No, actually, whenever you take any role of leadership, more questions will come than help. No? All of us know that. Whatever may be that job, it doesn't matter, even if it's a small home function. Everybody will tell you, "Why are you not doing this?" But nobody will say, "Why can we not do this for you?" So they started to tell my mother, and my mother said, no, I have written everything. This is some test that Swami. Let us sit, this is a banyan tree. Let us sit down and do SSSIC Ashtotram. In Kannada we have a quotation. Sankata Bandare Venkataramana. If you have Sankat, call the name of Venkat. So they started to say, Om Bhagwan Ji Satyasai Bhagwan Namaha started. They are saying this, and another bus came, some other bus from some other village. It stopped, and one man got out of the bus, and he is looking around, and suddenly he hears, Dwarakama Vasne, all this Ashtotram going on. He turns around to see where is this sound coming on. Under a tree, some 4 women are sitting and chanting Satyasai Ashtotram. So he looked around, what is this strange? And he went there. He recognized my mother. He was one Mr. Murthy from Alike, one of the teachers there. And Narayan Murthy, I think his name. And he came up to my mother and said, Kamalama, what are you doing sitting under a tree at 6:30 in the evening chanting Satya Sai Ashtotram in some strange village so far away from Bangalore? So she told him, look, this is the problem. We have come, they have not come for some reason. We have no place to go. We have to spend the night under this tree. These villagers are all asking us why we are here. So the only way we can sit here and hope for protection is from Swami. We are chanting his Ashtotram. He said, oh, I know somebody here, one of the business people here. He has a house and other things. Let me go and see if they can accommodate you ladies tonight. So he went there and he came back. That fellow said, I cannot accommodate in the house, but I have a warehouse where I keep all the granary, He's a tradesman. He sells rice and wheat and all that. They can stay in the warehouse if they want for the night, and tomorrow morning when the bus comes, they can go. There is one bathroom at the back. Then that gentleman brought milk and bananas and whatever he could get, gave it to these ladies, opened the door, they went in there. And of course, these poor ladies from the city, there were some mice running around. They were all scared. They sat on the rice bags for the rest of the night. Of course, recollecting Swami's Mahimas and saying there must be something in this for us. He's put us here, with some bananas and milk, and this gentleman was. And he said, don't worry, I will sleep under the tree outside. Your ladies are here. I will be here, not to worry. So they spent the night. The following morning, of course, at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, suddenly they hear the shout, Sai Ram from somewhere. They open the door and go out, and they find that the district presidents, the Sevadal people from that small town had arrived. And what had happened was that poor gentleman's mother had passed away, and he had to go to Chennai, and he had sent a telegram to the Sevadal people in his town to go and receive, but that telegram came late. It came in the night. So by the time they received the telegram, all this had happened, and they came and took. And my mother and all, they went in the bullock cart and they went and did their program, got all these ladies together and everything, and they came back to Bangalore. As soon as they came, we have to go and tell Swami, what is this? We are doing his work. What is the meaning of putting us through all this trouble? Went to Vrindavan. I remember going there with my mother and Swami very sweetly coming and saying, Narayan Murthy ko baga nidra rampichesna. He said that Narayan Murthy, I made him to go to sleep. He was supposed to get down in the previous bus stop. I made him sleep so that he misses the bus stop and gets off where you people were sitting. He slept nicely, got down when he heard Satya Sai Ashtotram, got down and helped you. What is there? That poor man's mother passed away, he could not come. But I took care of you. You people don't need to eat so much. I gave you enough to eat what you need to eat. Milk and bananas and fruits. Healthy dinner I gave you. There is no need to eat so much also. You have completed and come. So he protected my mother, and I remember this many times that we used to remember anytime anybody started the work and they'd say it is very difficult, auntie, to do this, it is so far away. My mother was the coordinate. The gurus will come. And my mother will say, remember that Bidar story, you go. He will come with you. Somebody will sleep longer than necessary and protect you. Not to worry about it. So this is how I grew up. And I believe Brother Kishore had said to stop after about 25 minutes or 30 minutes, I may be gone over a little bit, if there were questions and to make it interactive. So far so good. Whatever question you ask, I will probably only tell you something that Swami has told me. So if you have anything that you really need to ask me, please feel free to ask. We are all family here. So if there's anything that anybody was thinking of asking me, I know that is a very awkward thing to do when a speaker suddenly stops and says, ask a question, and like, oh my God, I didn't do my homework. And that's not the case. I can continue to tell our beloved Swami's many Mahimas to all of you. But if you have some question, I will be very happy to put in a Mahima along with the answer that the question.
Mahima would be more welcome,
I see.
Your experience.
Did you stand up to ask me a question?
She was
Okay. Anybody? Any man? Okay. Then I will go ahead. If you come up with a question, please raise your hand and I will stop. It's a very informal thing, not to worry, and I will stop. So, one of the questions that I always get is, after Swami left his physical form, have you had any experience to say that he is with you? I mean, this is a question that I get wherever I go, all over the world. People ask, and as Swami has told us many, many times, he's right here in our hearts. Sadly, it takes us time to realize that, I think. And I'm in the same boat as you many times. I say, oh, I want to go to Puttaparthi, or I want to go to Vrindavan, or I want to go here and there. And Swami has many times said, but then Puttaparthi is our home. We have to go there. It's like visiting your mother. Even if your mother comes to visit you in US, you still go back to visit her in Bangalore. So that is Prashanthi Nilayam for all of us. So that is the question that a lot of people ask me. So I'll answer that if ever any of you have felt that Swami left us and it's difficult to feel his presence. And I think the problem, like I said, lies within us. We don't connect enough with him. If we continue to do our namasmarana, if we continue to do our own choice of whatever sadhana we like to do, whether it is seva or namasmarana or meditation, I don't know, for each one of us it is different. Whatever we do and we connect to him, we do feel him. But I also, having grown up with so much of physical proximity, everything in my life was done by him, for me, in his physical presence, including my son's marriage, even after they grew up in the US. So it was very difficult for me to accept Swami's departure. It was very difficult. It took a very long time to adjust to the idea that I can hear his discourses, but I won't hear him scold me again. Or it was difficult. It was really difficult. And it took me a while, and even now it's sometimes very difficult when I go to Prashanthi Nilayam because I keep expecting him to come or walk out of that building any moment now. But at the same time, the very sadhana that he has given us is to realize him within us. Because if we don't do that, we will continue to keep searching and feeling unhappy and disappointed and going up and down. But the one incident that happened to me though, after his departure, kind of really shook me a little bit. I had gone, this was, Swami passed away in 2011, and I think it was 2013. I had gone to Chicago. They had asked me to speak there for New Year. And I had gone to Chicago and I finished my talk there. And one of the brothers whose house I stayed in, both of the husband and wife, it was a working day for them the next day. So my flight was around 11:30 back to Baltimore. And they asked me, is it okay if we drop you around 8 or 8:15 to the airport? Because both of them had meetings that morning. I said, absolutely no problem, you drop me at the airport and get to work. It was a working day for them. So they dropped me at the airport around 8:30 or 9 or something, and I went up and as I walked near to my gate after the security check and all that, I saw that all the flights to Baltimore and Washington DC and to Dulles, Virginia, all the 3 airports near where I live, all the flights were cancelled. Every single flight, and everybody was in the line trying to switch. And I tried to call my host, Sai devotee brother and sister, to tell them that look, this is cancelled. They are saying there are no flights for 2 days. So I'm going to have to come back and stay with you for 2 more days. I kept calling and calling and calling, but both of them didn't pick up their cell phones because they were both in meetings and they had turned it off. So I called my husband and he said, just go and stay in the Holiday Inn Express near the airport. And then just, they will notify you when there is a flight and you can do that. So I said, okay, and I walked up to the counter. And as I was walking up, a very good friend of ours who lives not very far from us just happened to call me. They were driving from New York to Washington, back to where I live. They live close to our house.
So they called and said, hey, how did the talk go? Did you have a good time? Did you meet all the Sai devotees? Just general conversation. I said, yes, I'm in the airport, but all my flights are cancelled. So immediately, her husband, who was driving, said, oh, we are driving from New York. Ask if there are any flights to Philadelphia, because the problem is in Baltimore. We are going to pass through Philadelphia. We'll pick you up in Philadelphia. Ask if there's a... So I was near the counter and I said, are there any flights to Philadelphia? She said, there is one in 10 minutes, but I thought you were going to Baltimore. I said, no, give me the Philadelphia flight. They're still on the line. I said, I got the flight for Philadelphia. They said, okay, we'll meet you in Philadelphia. Take the flight. So she said, this Chicago airport is a huge airport. And it was some gate 27. I was in some gate 2 or 3 or something. And she said, you're going to have to run like your life depended on it, because they're going to close the gate in 8 or 10 minutes. Now, the funny thing that had happened when I was going through security check before all this, they had taken me aside and opened my suitcase, because I had taken a necklace to wear in that top of mine and it looked pointy to them. So the TSA people had pulled me aside, and there was an African American TSA lady, and she opened it and she said, what sharp thing are you carrying? I said, I don't know. Then she opened and it was my necklace, and she said, oh, it's this. And when she opened my suitcase, in that netted portion, when you open the suitcase, I had Swami's picture there. This was a black, African American lady. She saw Swami's picture and she said, oh, good looking boyfriend, she said. So, what am I going to say to an American TSA woman, right? So I said, yeah, isn't he? And she said, yeah, if you dump him, let me know, she said. I said, doesn't look like I'm going to dump him anytime soon. And this had happened, and I had come up to the counter, and all this whole business of cancellation had happened, and I got this Philadelphia ticket. So I started to run to the gate 27 or whatever, and I'm running, and I was like so sure that they would close the gate, And I was like, my God, Swami, you told me to speak about you, and who really wants to do this in cold winter Chicago? I'm saying all this in my head. These are all our Ashtotram, right? When we are in trouble. The real names we forget. All, so, Daya, Sagara and all forgotten. I was running as I came here. Then I come to the gate and they're almost closing. And there is this woman, I said, oh my God, did you close the gate? I have the ticket and I have the boarding pass. She said, oh, are you the woman who was supposed to go to Baltimore and switch to Philadelphia? She asked me at the counter. I said, yes, please don't close the gate, I want to go. She said, yeah, some guy from Southwest. Southwest is an airline there. Southwest called Baba, she said, came and said, there's a lady running to get to the gate, don't close the gate. I said, what? She said, yeah, he said his name is Sababa. So I said, oh, okay. And she said, get in, we're closing. And I didn't even register it till I sat down. I said, what did she say his name was? Sababa? She said, yes, some guy called Sababa came and said that to keep the door open. She couldn't say Sai Baba, He must have said Sai Baba or something. And he said, he came and said, and so I ran in and I got in and I landed in Philadelphia, and my friends were waiting there to pick me up with lunch and everything, and then drove me back to Washington, D.C. So this was in 2013, much after Swami had left his physical presence, but always reassuringly saying that, you do my work and I will be there, to keep the gate open, to make sure that somebody calls you to drive you home from Philadelphia to Baltimore. Just do my work. So I think for all of us as Sai devotees, we don't realize that when we start doing his seva in so many different ways, whether it is through Balavikas or through all the Narayan seva or all the so many activities now, and giving back in so many ways to Swami, he's always with us. So that is one of the questions that I always get. And whenever I think about it, I thank Swami so much to not only reassuring me, but reassuring all the devotees who hear this incident, that he's always there with each one of us, And so the other question, in the meantime, there's a hand before I answer my own questions. Yes.
Many times you need an answer for certain things. But it's very confusing for me. Is it my mind giving that answer or is it Swami giving the answer? How do I know?
Yes. Yes, I know. That's a question I've asked Swami also. So Swami, I can give you the answer that Swami gave me. Because we all have that dilemma, right? Is it what we want that's happening? So Swami gave a beautiful answer. See, a lot of the times, he said, even when I am here, you ask me a question, but you want the answer that you want. You don't like the answer that I give you. You know, if I give you some answer, you will say, but no Swami, but I have this. Because you don't like the answer I am giving you. You want an answer that pleases your mind. So the way to know what the answer is if it is something that you have thought of that I want. Let's say I want some car and you keep thinking I want this particular car and then you pray and you feel that that's the answer, then you know that that is something that you have wanted. Whereas if the answer says, what about ceiling on desires? You may then say, but that other person bought that beautiful Tesla. Why the heck am I following ceiling on desires? So that is the answer. Sometimes the answers that we get is what we don't like. But that's probably the answer that Swami is giving. I'll give you an incident that happened to me, sort of related to this, a little bit differently. But to complete the answer though, Swami says, you ask me the question and wait for 15 or 20 minutes to see what answer you get. And if it is something that you feel that, no, I don't think Swami really meant this, maybe he meant that, then that's your mind telling you that. But if it is Swami giving you the answer will be very clear to you. It will be very, very clear if you have sincerely prayed and he will answer you very clearly. But sometimes we want the answer that we want, right? So I was in the interview room once and there was a group of others. Swami had invited another couple of families along with us. And very nice family, very devoted. And Swami was talking to them very lovingly. And the gentleman in the group had an album, and he kept asking Swami, please look at this album, Swami. So Swami, after talking to everybody for a few minutes, said, what is the album? So he said, Swami, I bought a beautiful house in the place that I live in. They were from Canada, some place in Canada, I don't know who they are, but Swami, and it's a beautiful house. And I want to show you the pictures of my house and I want you to bless the house. So Swami was happy. He took the album and he turned the pages and very nicely, bahut acha hai, very nice, chala babundi, and all that he said. Then he showed us the pictures as well, Then then Swami gave the album back. Then the gentleman wasn't very happy with that, He gave the book back to Swami and he said, Swami, you didn't see my puja room.
Oh God.
So, there are so many immediately my brain, which I've seen Swami since my brain is like, why are you saying my and puja? My and puja doesn't go together. So many crazy questions already. And I'm like, oh gosh, this poor person, Then Swami said, I saw everything. He said, no Swami, my puja room is so beautiful, Swami. I got the marble statues from Jaipur in India and the marble from somewhere and all that, So please see Swami. Puja room. This puja room is all for you, Swami. So Swami said again, very nice, very nice. Then again he said, Swami, this house is yours, Swami. This house is yours. You should give a name. This is your house, Swami. Repeatedly, and Swami said, very happy, take the album back, Yet the person was not happy with the answer that Swami was giving. He wanted Swami to say, yours is a beautiful house. I really love your puja room. I promise you I'm going to live there for the rest of my avataric mission. Whatever the answer he wanted, he was not getting it. So he kept saying, my puja room, Swami, you must come to that, my puja room. Finally, Swami said, very nice. Write it in your will. Write the house in your will. Then only, because he kept saying, it's your house, it's your house. You really don't mean it, no? You really don't mean it. You're just saying your house because you want the name for a house. You want the blessings out of your house. Write it in your will. Swami said. So we know that then the answer that we are getting is what we are
not getting. We have to look for the answer that Swami wants. Everything that he has given us, the very fact that I'm sitting here, all of you here on Tuesday, on a Sunday evening, everything is his will. The fact that we are listening to his glory and sharing it with you, and you are listening, and I'm with a whole family of Sai brothers and sisters, that is his will. If we accept it like that, we start connecting with everyone, not only him. I've had such wonderful experiences all over the world, where I've immediately felt a connection. I'll tell you this one. Do I have time? A couple of minutes. Okay. I have to tell you this incident, which has also happened after Swami's departure from this human, physical, avataric form. This beautiful form which we all miss, of course. A Swami had told me to go to Malaysia, but it had not happened while Swami's physical form was there. And they had not actually invited me at that time. Swami would keep asking me, have you been to Malaysia? Did you meet Jagadishan? And I'm like, no, Swami, why are you not going to Malaysia? And I cannot say, Swami, the devotees there have not invited me. So, no, Swami, I am not going. But they invited me. They were such a loving family there. So I arrived in Malaysia that day. The following day, we were supposed to drive for the national retreat that they were having. It was a national retreat. It was after Swami had left his form. So we arrived there. And as soon as we came, they took me, the sisters, the ladies, they said, sister, in the evening we have time today, we have to go tomorrow morning, would you like to see something here? So I had heard of this famous hill where they have the famous statue of Lord Shanmukha, Subramanya Swami there in Malaysia, on the hill. And you have to climb it, the cars don't go there. So I said, if it is not too much out of the way and too difficult, I would like to see it. If it is something within the vicinity of where you can take me. They said, no, it's absolutely very easy. It's only 25 minutes away from where you are. We will take you. So we all left, and by the time all the ladies came and we left, they were supposed to pick me up at about 5 or so. They were a little late because of the traffic. They came around 6 o'clock and we arrived there. And this was actually my first talk after, I think, Swami had passed away. It was immediately a few months after Swami had left his physical form, and I was very emotional. I was very nervous about speaking. I didn't want to break down in the middle of my talk, and I kept praying to Swami, Swami, I have come to Malaysia. Now you are not there. I used to take permission for all my talks. You are not there. I'm going. You have to be with me. You have to be with me. We arrived there where this hill is, and on the at the lower level, at the foot of the hill, is a huge Ganesha temple, Vinayaka temple. So the lady said, we'll take a darshan of Vinayaka and then we will go up. So I wanted to buy a garland for the deity there. They were selling beautiful garlands. So I told the ladies, why don't you all go in? I will buy the garland and I'll come. So I bought the garland, the ladies had gone in. And it was like an open air kind of thing, just like our Purna Chandra or Kulwant hall is, It is open on the sides and the deity is in the middle. And as soon as I put my foot onto that area of the temple, the priest who was doing the Ashtotram to the deity suddenly stopped and in Tamil said, Yarvandar, who came? He said. My heart just came to my mouth and I didn't do anything. I was just setting foot into the temple and he suddenly stopped the puja and he said, who came? Like that, in a loud voice. Everybody turned and it was me, standing there. I said, did I do something wrong? And they said, no. And the priest said, no, please come. And he said, Lord Ganesha, he wanted to see you, he said. I said, what is happening? And then he said, they had put a huge garland on that Ganesha in the morning. And he said that it was not cut, but it was as though it was untied. The whole garland was untied, it had just fallen down as I set foot. Because once they put a garland, apparently they don't put a second garland. And I had just bought a garland, I didn't know that. So he said, you have brought the garland for him, he wants to accept it, he said. So he took my garland, that garland had fallen, he put the garland and then gave us lot of prasad, all the fruits and everything. We distributed it to the devotees and I was a little shaken by that because I had been praying to Swami saying, please show me that you are with me because I am speaking for the first time after you have left your physical form.
I don't know if I will do a good job. And Swami has told me, don't prepare. Go and stand there and talk. And I have no books, nothing. What am I going to say to a whole lot of Malaysian national conference, And I had been praying and this whole Ganesha thing happened. I said, okay, thank you, Swami. I think through Ganesha you have told me that you have accepted my garland. Please help me speak well and all that. We finished that. Now I wanted to go up the hill to that Subramanya Swami, the Shanmukha temple up on the hill. So I said, let's go. But the priest said, no, the temple closes now at 7 o'clock. It is closing time. You won't be able to climb some 300 steps within 15 minutes. You won't be able to go, you just pray to the temple from here only. So these ladies, it was very, very hot also. So they said, it's very hot, Sister Geeta. You can't climb. You will also get very tired. Tomorrow you have to, I had 3 days of the retreat to speak. They said, you will get very tired. I said, no. I said, I will come to see Lord Subramanya. So I will climb. Whether I see him or not, it's okay. I will do my pranams to the door and come back. If you ladies are tired, you sit here. I will climb and I will go. So one lady said she will accompany me. We started, both of us. Then one more lady came. 3 of us started to climb. Very quickly we climbed some 300 steps, not very difficult. We climbed there. We had hardly gone almost to the top when the priest was standing there and he said, oh good, you ladies, you came. If you stand here for a little while, I will go down to the hill, at the foot of the hill, or one of you have to go and do some work for me. The priest is saying. He said, what work? He said, no, temple timing is over now. It's 7:15. I have to close the temple at 7 o'clock. But whatever I do, I am latching the door, but I am unable to lock. The key is not turning in the lock. The key is not turning. So we said, okay, if you want to go down and call her, we will go and call. He said, I have to get help because a lot of silver things are there in the temple. I cannot leave the temple unguarded. So I had to lock. If one of you ladies go downstairs, down to the hill and send somebody. Otherwise I can't. Then he said, you must be really, some devotees come on good work. You come and have darshan, then you go. So we went there. He did aarti and everything, gave us aarti, gave us tirtham and everything. And then he said, okay, I will just close it and put the lock. And I will only go if you ladies stand because you ladies will take a long time. And he latches the door, he puts the lock and turns the key and it locks. It locks. Again he opened it. How did this happen here? He said, we don't know what he is talking about. He said, no, this lock was not closing. And he closed and locked it again. He said, you must have come for some spiritual work, Amma. That is why Lord Shanmukha has blessed you. He is the commander. He has blessed you. So I said, yes, I have come on some spiritual work only to speak about his father only. Our Satya Sai Shiva Shakti Rupam. I have come to speak about their parents. Both Ganesha and Subramanya have blessed me. So that is why, yes, I said and it came. So brothers and sisters, you see, this is our Swami. If we do his work, at every moment he is with us. Whether to keep the lock open or make the garland fall or send somebody to protect us, whatever it may be, or even have a TSA person ask me if this was the wonderful boyfriend I had. Whatever may be the joke in this whole thing, this is the Swami that I have loved and I have believed in and I have faith in. And I'm sure it is the same for all of you. Otherwise you would not be here to listen to an unknown woman talk for 1 hour on a Sunday evening instead of spending it with your families. So thank you very much for the opportunity coming and speaking in this really wonderful place that Swami himself has come and opened. You're all very, very fortunate to have this lovely place to come week after week and serve him. Brother Surendra Satija and my sister Alka here will say that we there in the US, every single Sunday, all the devotees, we don't have our own building. We rent a school and every Sunday we come and sweep and mop and set up our altar, do our bhajans and our balavikas and our seva activities and go back, and we have been doing that for many, many years, and we do not have such a building of our own. But you are all fortunate to have this. You must make the best use of it and serve Swami to the best of your abilities. And of course, in your own way, I heard that you're all going to Prashanthi Nilayam soon to do a program and attending the alumni meet as well. I'm sure you will all participate there in Prashanthi Nilayam, which is our mother's home for all of us. Jai Sai Ram.